All right, well, my name is Mike. This is my whiskey collection, and I've been in whiskey since probably 2001 when I used to live in Kentucky, just graduating from college, and then ever since then I've just gotten into it more and more. Have a tight space here, but it's grown exponentially, and everything in here is going to be drank at some point. So not everything's open, but it's going to be open at some point. So I guess I'll just kind of show you kind of how I have it sectioned off here. So we'll start right down here below the TV. This is kind of a part of some of the makers I have. A lot of the basically these were all some of the finished and wood finishing series that I was lucky enough to gather. I have sisters that both live in Kentucky, so they've helped me acquire some of those that maybe are harder to find in Ohio. It's part of the Maker's Mark Drop Club, so I was able to get Cellar Age 2024 this year, which just picked that up. That was sent to my sisters. That'll be open here soon. This is our cat Remy. He likes to be in the whiskey room. So he's our distillery cat, I guess you could say. With the shelves, I kind of have it organized by distillery. So starting up top here, we have our Heaven Hill with some of the old Fitz decanters I've been lucky enough to acquire. And then as you kind of make your way down, you get into some of the Buffalo Trace collections. I've been lucky enough to get some of the Stags and Stag Juniors, as well as some of the E.H. Taylors, and then there's several of the Blantons, straight from the barrel, gold, and then also the special reserves is right here.
How's that single oak project? Do you like it?
I do. I this one was kind of a luck of the draw. I know they've been releasing more of these here recently at the distillery here periodically. So this is barrel 59. I happened to be at I think it was a liquor barn in Lexington. This is actually an older bottle. This is when they first started coming out. So I'm kind of savoring the last little hits of it. It's unique just with the different barrel woods that they used. So it's 90 proof, nothing crazy as far as proof goes, but it's definitely different and interesting. So I'd love to get another one of those, but I don't know if I will look into another one of those or not. The Charter Oak, again, these have been coming out more and more from Buffalo Trace, but this is the French Oak. Haven't cracked this one yet, but I've tried it. It has a sweeter profile to it. But I think there's 4 different woods that they have been putting out for Old Charter Oak. This is probably the easier one to find out of all the Charter Oaks. Down here, got the Weller Rainbow going on. I have a special reserve here somewhere, but those are some of the harder ones to find with the CYPB, the full proof, the single barrel, and the Weller 12 year. This is actually, I was pleasantly surprised how good this Blanton's is. The Japanese red version, and I traded a fellow bourbon friend for this, and this was actually probably one of my favorite Blantons that I've had before. So this one was dumped 4/18/23. It's 93 proof, so it's not a high proofer, but the flavors on it are really, really good. Outside of the straight from the barrel, this is probably one of my more favorite Blantons that I was lucky enough to get. Have you ever heard of the, I don't know if a lot of people have heard of the DNA series that Makers put out. I was lucky enough, they're all kind of tucked back in there, but I was able to pick up the entire DNA collection. So that's basically what they did. If you're not familiar with it, they tried different barrel entry proofs on the DNA project. So this one is the 115 barrel entry. They did a 110, a 120, and a 125. And basically what they did is they just wanted to explore the barrel entries to see when it came to a finished bourbon, did it change the outcome of the taste profile? And if I remember correctly, all makers had always entered in at a 125. And they tried this to see, and they've kind of just said, well, we like 125 still, we're going to stick with 125. But it was an interesting experiment to try some different makers at different barrel entry proofs that you might not normally see. But down below here, I have several of some of the Woodford Reserves that I've been lucky enough to get. A lot of these smaller bottles, if you're not familiar, are some of the distillery-only releases. So they do the distillery series. So I really enjoy trying those. I got to be in the mood for Woodford, I'll be honest, because I am a proofer. I like high proof stuff. But we all know most of the Woodford are at 90.4. But when they do some of the finishing series, I do like to explore those. So like this is the Chocolate Malt Whisper. We have the double oaked is really good if you're able to find that. This is one of them right here, the double oaked. I haven't cracked that one yet because I have a little bit left from another year. So these are always this is from 2020.
Very dark chocolate. The hot
Yes.
one.
Very chocolate. Very, very good.
Not sweet, but just dark chocolate.
Exactly. Yep.
Cocoa powder.
Cocoa. Exactly. This is a 4-grade blended whiskey. This was a barrel finished rye. So outside of obviously like some of the barrel proofs, they're all going to be your 90.4. But just kind of a fun way to try different Woodfords and different expressions that they have. This one was the Madeira cask. I think a lot of people have seen that available around here. Again, 90.4 proof, but a little bit of a sweeter profile with the Madeira cask finished. So that was an interesting one as well. And there's a handful back there. We'll move to the middle shelf. I started as a maker's. That's how I got into whiskey because I lived down in Kentucky. Maker's was readily available. Became an ambassador. I'm sure everybody knows about the ambassador program. I started that years ago when they first started it. Was able to go back down to Makers and dip my own bottle. So that kind of got me engaged.
Oh, I don't know. What is an ambassador?
So an ambassador is a free program, and I'm pretty sure they still do. It's a free program. You go to Makers and you can sign up. They just say you're an ambassador. They give you basically an opportunity to say, I'm going to have my own barrel. So they put so many names on a barrel, and when that barrel comes of age, after 6, 7, 8 years, they will email you, and you can go down and buy a barrel out of your own barrel along with like 40, 50 other people and dip it.
Oh,
So,
okay.
and then they give you a little special ambassador, but it's regular Makers, but it's just kind of a fun way to get into.
Well, at least a single barrel, though.
Yes,
Okay.
yep. So it's a fun way to do it. I got into Makers that way, or bourbon into that way, and then I am a big Old Forester fan. So anytime I'm able to add to my Old Forester collection, I do. I've been lucky enough to get each of the 117 series that they put out so far. The most recent one that just was released was the Warehouse Eye, which I've heard is very good. Haven't tried it yet. It's been shipped to my sister's house, so that is coming. But all these 117s are really good. Some unique ones out of Old Forester that I like to kind of share is this bottle right here. This is an Old Forester. This one is from 1962. And actually, the interesting, let me make sure that's correct. I think the date is on the tag still, on the stamp tags. I think it was 62, but this bottle was actually, you can see there's some sediment in there still because it is older, but it's a very dusty whiskey finish on it. It's a bottled and bond, so there's nothing super special about it. It's 100 proof, but my understanding, I don't know how valid this is that this was gotten at an auction out of Philadelphia, and it used to be part of a collection of one of the old Philadelphia mayors, and then it changed hands, and I bought it partially open. So kind of a unique story, very good dusty, and then not only do I like Old Forester, like I said, but I do like Dusties, and I was able to get this Dusty, which is, there's a little bit left, and I was actually able to get a couple bottles of this, but this was distilled in spring of 1951 and bottled in 56. And I got these all unopened, so I broke the tax strip on it when I opened it, and I've shared that with several people, and it's been very good. Again, it's 100 proof, or it's a bottled and bond, but it just, you get that dusty vibe to it, and it's very, very, very unique. And the interesting thing about these bottles actually is when they came in the box, and I can pull that out and show you later, there was a little pamphlet, little envelope on the bottom that said, once you're done with this, you could send, I think it was like $4 to Old Forester back in the 50s, and they would send you an attachment to make this into a lamp. after you're done. So that envelope was still in there too, which was kind of cool. And I'll pull that out and show you that a little bit later.
Just as a joke, you should have fill it out and send it in
That's
now.
what everybody says. Just send it in and see what happens. So I should probably just do it, because the worst can happen, it gets sent back to me. So, so Old Forester, I do really enjoy. If you've been lucky enough to try any of the President's Choice bottles, so this was batch 15. I think they're close to batch 80 now with the President's Choice. This was a kind of a resurrected series that they did back in the day. Brown Forman did for Old Forester, or just as Brown Forman, and then it kind of went defunct. That brand did, and then recently, just with the bourbon boom, Old Forester brought the President's Choice back. So I was lucky enough to get batch 15. They always put on their labels, it's aged 9 summers. So that's how they give you the age statement on these. I've been lucky enough to get a couple other ones. I've seen them as high as maybe 12 summers old. But they are all higher proof. Like this is 59% ABV. Very good. A lot of flavor to these. So if you ever have an opportunity to try a President's Choice, I would highly recommend those. Not recently here, but I had several years in a row I got lucky with some of the birthday bourbons at Old Forester. This was, I think, the first one I was able to acquire. It was when they were doing lotteries. So I entered some lotteries, or I went online and I was able to buy it when they put it online. Now everything gets shut down if you try to buy them online. So I got this one. This was a 12-year. This was the bottling from, I think, 2018, if I remember correctly. But any of the birthday bourbons I've really enjoyed. Yeah, this one was bottled in 2018. This one, and since I got it at the distillery, I was able to get the master distiller and the taster to sign those. So this one was signed as well, I think. Yeah, it's harder to see right there. Chris Morris, who used to be the master distiller. This is the 2019 bottling. This was 11 years old. So birthday bourbons were probably some of the first more highly allocated bottles I was able to acquire. And again, I like to open them with friends and enjoy them, and that's kind of where I'm at with anything that's in this room. Let's see. Old Forester. Hi, Paulo. Down here in the middle shelf, we have several of the Mictors I've been lucky enough to get. I really enjoy some of the limited releases if you're lucky enough to find them, like the toasted barrel finish, the barrel strength bourbon, and then the toasted barrel strength as well have been some really, really good ones that they've recently been putting out. So I enjoy these quite a bit. I do have some Michter's 10-year rye and bourbon back there as well. The Bombergers and Shanks were also, if you're not familiar with the story behind those were, again, some defunct brands that Michter's used to, they bottle now, but they were brands out of Pennsylvania, because Michter's was originally a Pennsylvania whiskey company. But we know all now they're in Louisville. So I enjoy those from time to time as well. The Orphan barrels have always intrigued me. When those first started coming out, this was the one of the most recent ones I got was the Indigo Hour, which is an 18-year bourbon. The very first one I got, it was this one right here, the Barter House, which was a 20-year Barter House. I got lucky enough. This was kind of before Orphan Barrel. People kind of knew what was in there. The story behind Orphan Barrel is that Stitzel-Weller had some barrels of old Stitzel-Weller juice that they blend with some older stuff. It's a very minute amount. They never say exactly, but kind of good older bourbons. I mean, it's newer as well, but it's kind of a unique story. So these are always kind of interesting to try. So not necessarily if you don't want to buy the bottle. If you ever see it, it's worth trying a pour of it at the bar. So those are the Barter House. Let's see here. We have, this is just kind of a mishmash of some other things, like Boone County Distilling. I have a sister that lives in Hebron, Kentucky, which is right near Boone County Distilling. So when they first started building there, she told me, hey, she lives in Boone County. There's going to be a Boone County distilling. So this is some of their newer stuff they put out. This is the toasted cask finish. I was able to acquire some of, I think I still have some of the older. So when Boone County started getting their own distillate, they changed obviously the label and their bourbon, but they were still sourcing mostly
Like MGP.
MGP. There was the 1833 bottles that they put out, and I'm kind of holding on to these just because these won't be out now because these are MGP. So this is a 10-year basically MGP that they were sourcing when they first started as Boone County Distilling. I wish I would have bought the bigger version of this one because this is a 12-year 1833.
Oh.
I got the Snyder's flask, which is kind of a cool little smaller bottle, but as a 375. But again, you're not going to see those everywhere anymore. It's just because when they got their own distillate, they started, rebottling in their own separate label. But good MGP juice here, which everybody knows is highly sought after a lot of times, especially some of the older stuff. Those will be opened at some point. Bullet I have a lot of the different bullets. Everyone's familiar. I would say a lot of the bullets people probably are used to getting those in some cocktails, and which that's always a good cocktail mixer. I am a big New Riff fan, and I know you guys enjoy your New Riff as well. I'll get to that here, but here's a lot of the beams I've been lucky enough to acquire. So some of the Hardin's Creek.
You have the 2-year.
Yes, yep, the 2-year Hardin's. Have you tried that one?
No, but my friend was making fun of it.
So this came actually together when I bought this one and this one. So it came with it. So I was like, okay, well, I haven't tried it yet, so we'll see. But yeah, it's only a 2-year. Evidently, they changed the aging process to see if it, or not the aging process, but they did something. They felt that it got more of the barrel exposure in a shorter amount of time. We'll see if that's accurate or not. Got some Bookers like everybody has. The Lineage was a gift shop pickup, which if you haven't had it, it's a very, very good. It's just a collaboration between.
Oh, I saw it at a gift shop one time.
Yeah, it's good.
Is it worth $180?
It's hard to say. Would I get it again? Probably not. But it's a good 15-year-old. I will say I enjoy it. So, but it's pricier. That's for sure. This is an older beam that when my wife and I got married, we had a bottle in our birth year that we cracked. And so I was born in 1979. So this is a 1979 Jim Beam, 100 months old. So this, again, a nice dusty. I like trying dusties, like I mentioned earlier. But I love the old decanters that Jim Beam put out. This was from an old Wisconsin Fishing Hall of Fame. So they got it bottled for that. And I like fishing, so I grabbed the rainbow trout, and it was in my birth year. So I thought that was kind of cool. I'm going to jump down just to New Riff because I do really enjoy New Riff. I think I've been lucky enough to get most of the different expressions of some of the stuff they've put out. This is probably the most interesting New Riff I have.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's a good one.
So this was put out during COVID. This bottle was released to help benefit a lot of the restaurants during the COVID time. And so I got online when they released it. I joined as a New Riff Ranger when they first were building. So I was lucky enough to get a heads up pre-sale link, and there was only this is bottle 210 out of 896. So they went pretty quick. But this is basically 15-year MGP. And several of my friends that have tried this said, like, we one night we blinded this against it was Elijah Craig, I think, like 18-year, and Lot B, Van Winkle Lot B, this one. Mm-hmm. So it's a very. I got about half bottle left. I wish I had 2 of them because once it's gone, I'll be sad. But it's a very good bottle. This is another interesting one too that I was able to get. This was a 9-year that they did special relief after the floods that affected Eastern Kentucky. So again, it was a limited release. This was only 98 bottles, so this was 37 out of 98. That's 113 proof. Very good as well. I would say there's a more oaky profile on this than you would expect, but very, very good. Again, all these are New Riffs that I've gotten. Sadler whiskey. is actually in my sister lives in Hebron, and there is a restaurant right nearby them that they source a lot of good bourbons. But then right next to it, it's called the Brass Ring Bourbon Bar, and they have this Sadler made specifically for them, but it's basically a New Riff product. So I hadn't realized that until I went there, and they sell this. They sold bottles, so I picked up one of the. It's basically the 7 year. It was a limited release. It was a ladies select. They had a ladies group, a bourbon group that selected this, and for 7 years, the color on it's really nice. It was a very good bourbon for only being aged 7 years, and that's cast strength. It's 114 proof, and we all know that typically women have a better palate profile than men do. So I trusted that alone, and I tried it, and I enjoyed it. So I grabbed this bottle. But you wouldn't expect this to be New Riff, but this is what this is. So it's just under a different label. So I grabbed that because I thought that was unique.
Yeah, I hear New Riff tastes the best at 115.
Yes.
That's what the distiller told me.
Yes, yeah, I've heard that same thing. Right in that 115 to 116 range. These are some interesting Dusties that I was able to get. These are actually Old Crow juice. These are from the 60s as well. So these are, you've heard of the Chessman sets that they put out back in the 60s. So this is actually Old Crow, original Old Crow juice that are in the Chessman set. So these are not open yet. They still have the tax strip on them. You could actually acquire back in the day an entire chess set and put it together if you wanted to. And I guess at one point, if you were able to do that, Old Crow would actually send you a chess board you could set all these bottles on.
Wow.
So they have the light, and the dark sets. So this was one of the light ones. It still has the tag and everything, which was really cool. So this is the light bishop, and then this one is a dark pawn. But the fact that they're still in the boxes and everything was pretty cool, I thought. I don't know when I'll open those, but I would like to, because again, I like drinking dusty whiskeys. But I've heard good things. It's hard to say how much juice is in those because there has been some evaporation over the years, obviously.
Do you go to Revival?
Yes. Have you been to the new Revival? The new shop?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's a nice bigger space, that's for sure.
I kind of like the old one a little better.
The old one is really quaint.
More intimate,
I did like it there. I agree with that. This is an interesting Heaven Hill. I was able to get a Heaven Hill 27 year.
You got lucky at a tour or what?
This will be open again at some point. I just haven't decided when, but it's just a pretty presentation. I was lucky enough to try this before I had acquired this, and it's very good. It's only 94.7 proof.
How many Weller Reds do you have to trade? It's 1,000?
A lot. A lot. So that's always a fun one. People haven't seen that one a lot. And then I've been lucky enough to get some of the newer Heaven Hill Heritage Collection. So that's an 18. I got the 17, the 20, which is basically the 20-year mellow corn, everybody says. So those are all back here as well. So I am a big Old Carter fan as well. And I have a lot of the Old Carters here. I was able to join the Old Carter Club in Louisville. And
hey, if you had 15 million, you could have bought the whole brand.
I know. I just Mark ended up buying. I saw that. So, which I guess Mark's still involved in it. So I'm happy about that. So these are a lot of the ones I've acquired just from being in the club because they give members first crack at them. The one first Old Carter I got, which was at a liquor store near my sister in Hebron. No, that's the American. Yeah, that's the. So this is the straight American whiskey, but this was batch 1. So the fact that it was batch 1 was kind of cool. It's 134.9 proof. I grabbed that at the store. I didn't really know much about them, and I was able to try this, and then I realized it was batch 1, and they were kind of growing. So I never opened this one. But if you've ever had a chance to try any of the Old Carters, they are higher proof. Very full of flavor. Some of the 15-year single barrels they put out have been very good. This was probably one of the more recent ones I got at the club. You can see that one's almost gone, 124 proof. But it's going to be interesting to see what happened. Like you mentioned, the brand was put up for auction because of the Mark and Sherry splitting up. And then Mark did buy it back as sole owner with Jack Rose, I think it was. So I'm hoping that means he's still part of it. I hope his wife's maybe still part of it, but they're just not business partners anymore because she has a very good palate too. This was the Derby special they put out every year. The past couple of years they put a Derby special out. So they just pick something that they feel is worthy of the Derby. So this is a single barrel 15 year at 121 proof.
Oh, little roses too on the
Little
little
roses,
details.
and that's what I like about them. They do those little things like that. So just a fun brand. It's very, very, very good juice. They do a good job at blending. So good blending is great. Bad blending can be not the greatest. So they do a good job. Old Commonwealth is a newer one that has started again. This Old Commonwealth was the distillery that back in the day, Pappy Van Winkle bottled at Old Commonwealth for a while. Then it went defunct, and then some investors have revived the brand. This was the first release that they just put out, I think, about 2 months ago of the Old Commonwealth. And I don't know if you can tell, but they actually used the old green glass. So if you look in the light, you can see the glass has a green tint to it. That's what the old Commonwealth that used to be Stitzel Weller juice was bottled in. So they were able to go to that detail of finding the green glass, which was cool as well. These were only on 250 bottles released on the first batch. It sold out pretty quickly. I was lucky enough to get one of those. That's a 10-year cask.
Oh, those are guys from the Flag of Kentucky.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yep. Just a pretty bottle. This was their second release that they put out. Was the Kentucky Nectar by Old Commonwealth. This one was finished in honey casks, so a nice kind of a dessert bourbon. Very, very good as well. So I guess as far as I've been lucky enough to acquire several very nice bottles, good bottles. My unicorn though has always been King of Kentucky, and I was able to get last year's version. I got it through a charity lottery ticket that I bought. And so this one was last year's version. You can see there's about half left. That was a bottle 74 out of 95 at 63.63%. This was Warehouse G. Love King of Kentucky. Before I got this, I had always just tried pours when I could find it for a somewhat reasonable price. So I was kind of bummed that this was getting down until OHLQ, Ohio Liquor Control, did a recent bottle quest here right before Thanksgiving, and I entered a bunch of places, and I entered my wife, as many of my buddies did, and I think all the wives won. So my wife won this year's version. Wow. So I was very ecstatic. So this is her bottle. She reminds me of that every day. She doesn't drink whiskey, but it's her bottle. So, but we're excited to have this one. This is a 16-year again, 129.1 proof. This one, the details on all the King of Kentucky bottles are. So this is bottle 25 out of 96.
Have you ever A-beat it against George T. Stagg?
I have not done that personally, but I know several people have. I think like Stuff and Whiskey just did one, and. So I'd like to do that because I actually have the George T. Stagg right behind you from 2019 that I wanted to crack. So that's gonna be on the list sometime.
You need any help tasting?
Come on over.
Yeah.
I'm just here for you, man.
Yeah. To solve the mystery, which one's better, you know?
I'm here for you.
You're here to help.
I'm here to provide passion.
You're so bourbon lucky, crazy.
Yeah,
Just
so-
winning King of Kentucky.
Well, yeah, I've gotten lucky on some lotteries. I've gotten luck with having friends in Kentucky that have just known people and helped me out. This actually, I did. If you didn't know, since we are in Ohio, we're in the land of Weller Red, OWA. It's readily prevalent. So I actually was able to trade a couple of those bottles. When I found out she won this, I went ahead. I'm also a craft beer person. So Goose Island Bourbon County Stout came out right before Thanksgiving. So this year, this was only a Chicago release that they took their Bourbon County Stout and they aged it in King of Kentucky barrels. So that one was only available there. I was able to trade to get this. So when I found I was getting that, I wanted to get one of these two to pair them. So yeah, this was their Bourbon County Stout that they aged 2 more years in King of Kentucky barrels.
Wow.
So that was kind of a
I've been seeing those around. Not that one particular, but
yeah. The other ones like the macaroon stouts and stuff have been popping. So I was excited to get this when I realized that she won that. So I'm really excited to pair these two. I'm sure Scott will be readily available to help pair those as well. I've been lucky enough I have all the Four Roses single barrel strength, all the recipes in barrel strength form.
which one's your favorite?
OESK is probably my favorite that I kind of tend to lean to. I guess this is a good opportunity to kind of talk quickly about a couple of the charity groups I belong to. Barrels for Hope is one of the groups I belong to. I'm going to try to find the bottle real quick. We are a group, an organization that we raise money for charity. We were able to... last year, in our first year of existence, we donated to some cancer societies, people that have been dealing with PTSD. I think we gave about $40,000 out to 4 different charities last year. So Barrels for Hope, if you go to barrelsforhope.com, we have some lower memberships that I think for $5 that anybody can join. There's 140 executive memberships. I think that those are all used up right now, but so any executive member is basically guaranteed any of our barrel picks that we get. If we have extras, then people that at $5 level can always get extra bottles. But it's a good cause. I guess I can show you this. This is from one of our Barrels for Hope. Dark Arts is a whiskey house out of Lexington, Kentucky. They've been doing some interesting stuff. So that's our label right there, Barrels for Hope. So when we do our picks, each member gets a bottle, and then if we have extras, we will give those to other people in the $5 membership range. But check it out. It's a very good organization. We are trying to donate money to people that need it. And you meet some good people, drink some good whiskey. It's a good time. My point of bringing that up was we got lucky enough to have a Four Roses pick that we had. And it's buried in here somewhere. But it was a different recipe I don't tend to normally lean to. Which is here it is right here. It's an OESF. So that was our pick for Barrels for Hope. 11-year, 1 month OESF and Tier 5. Just a amazing bottle. I can't remember the taste profile typically of the OESFs, but it didn't drink like a normal OESF. And when they picked this blind, the members that went, and it's just a solid barrel strength pick. So
I hear that if you go to Four Roses to pick, you get to try all 10 recipes.
Correct.
Whew.
Yeah, that's a
so
fun
much
day.
better than the regular 3 barrels.
Yes, that's a fun day. So that's what we landed on, and they had no idea what the age or the tier level was until they picked it, and so they picked some good palates picked it. Wow. So yeah, so we got that, and we've done. I know we've done some other picks with Scott talked about Middle West. We've done some picks with Middle West as well. This one was for Barrels for Hope. This was a cast strength. Again, the dark pumpernickel rise. This is out of Columbus, Ohio. They are putting out some really good stuff. 124.48. So if you ever get an opportunity to pick up any of these, it's well worth it. What, $60, right? Yeah. I mean,
so dark.
So the color on it is just amazing, and they just drink it as equally well. So Middle West, I would highly recommend if you ever see it, picking that up. So I have my father-in-law, and my mother-in-law, and sister-in-law, and brother-in-law. They live in Pennsylvania near Pittsburgh. So this is something you're not going to see everywhere. Liberty Pole is a newer whiskey distillery that's in Pittsburgh. It's actually where they have the distillery. It's on the grounds of the Whiskey Rebellion, where it actually happened. So it's a really cool story. They're putting out some interesting stuff. This is their single barrel rye whiskey. They've done some honey finishes. Just today they released 2 toasted versions that actually my mother-in-law and sister-in-law went and waited in line for. So that's kind of cool. This is a honey finished barrel that was very good as well. So they're putting out some really interesting good things. So Liberty Pole, be on the lookout for them. Here's my Russells. I've been lucky enough to get some of the Rickhouse editions they put out. This is Camp Nelson F. So those are all unique, and I'm a big Russell's single barrel fan as well. This one back here, I got the Russell's 13, of course. 15 is getting a little too low for my liking, but
Time to replenish.
it's so good. It's so good. I think this one, that's from the visitor center. This was a Camp Nelson F. Jimmy was there, so he signed it.
Oh, nice.
But when I saw Camp Nelson F, I grabbed that one right away. But I think it's this one back here. Here's the Generations. If you've not had that one's very good too. It's a blend of 9, 12, 14, and 15-year-old bourbons.
Oh, okay, I got it.
Yeah, so
That's what's called Generations.
yep. So all
Every single
three
gener-
generations pick some different barrels, and the feathers on the back with each of the guys is pretty interesting too. So that's a very good selection if you get a chance. But this one, I think it's right here. Everyone's heard of Rare Bird 101. If you haven't heard of him, he is a Wild Turkey fan and Russell's fan. This is a pick that I had a friend that lived in South Carolina that found this at a liquor store that was picked by Rack House 76 and Rare Bird 101. And this was a Camp Nelson E.
Oh.
This is just a solid pour. 10-year, 110 proof like normal, but very, very, very good. This has beat a lot of different Russell's blind that we've done before. So it's just fun finding some of these single barrels that people that with great palates have picked. Yeah, oh yeah. Buckner 17.
Don't forget about that one.
Yeah, there we go. Here's the Buckner 17. Scott might drink this whole thing by himself if I'm not careful.
So good.
The color on that is just amazing.
I was just curious, why would the proof was got a little lower than than the 13?
I was curious about that too. I don't know if I don't know if the location of that was in where they picked it from, but it just drinks super nice.
The lower floor.
Yeah, it's probably lower floor. But I was lucky enough to grab one of the 17 years. So
Nice.
I know I've been rambling on here for a while, so I'll pick out a couple more just bottles to feature real quick and show you. Maumee Valley Whiskey Society, that's my sweatshirt. That's another bourbon group I'm part of. It's up in Maumee, Ohio, just about 30 minutes north of here. We do a lot of charity work as well. And so if you're in the area and you're interested, look up Maumee Valley Whiskey Society. You don't have to join. You can join for free as a Facebook member, but we do a lot of cool events around here as well. The fish was my wedding bottle from 1979. My wife's wedding bottle, she doesn't drink whiskey, but I had to get one for her, was a 21-year Elijah Craig, because this was in her birth year. So this is good, but it's not as good as I was hoping it would be. This is actually pre-fire Heaven Hill. So this was bottled before Heaven Hill had the big fire. So just a kind of a unique, don't get me wrong, it's good, but there's a lot of other things I enjoy a lot more. Then obviously I have the 18-year up here as well.
Oh, that's from Revival, huh?
Yes, this one was from a Revival.
Okay.
Yep, that one was snagged from him. George T. Stagg, this is from, if I remember correctly, it's from 2019. So this is actually a lower proof than some of the newer ones. Like I think this year's 136 proof, 135. Last year's, this was
135.
135 was last year's, so that one's empty, unfortunately. This one is only 116 proof. So some of the earlier ones from several years ago, they were not as high as they are now, but they drink just as good. They just drink just as well as anything else that's out there. Lucky enough to have my Pappy 15 up there. Just it looks nice up there. But I think the two, if I had to pick two bottles that are just really, really unique, I'm going to go to these two right here. So this was from Old Forester back last year. They released the so they had the 150th Old Forester bottle that had 3 different batches, but then they put out the Brown Forman bottle, which they only released 100 of these.
Whoa, what's the age statement on that?
12 years. So it's basically 12-year, and it drinks like a 12-year. It drinks like a vintage Old Forester. It tastes like a Dusty. I don't know what they did to get it to drink that way, but I was lucky enough to go down. It was down during Repeal Day last year in December, and they...
Yeah, this is just in the gift shop?
Yeah, so you had to get tickets for the event. And
okay.
so they gave us these bottles then with the ticketed event. So this one was this was originally supposed to be released in 2020. Well, we all know COVID was hitting. So they kind of put this on the back burner and didn't do anything with it for several years. They finally figured they gave most of these to employees and workers at Old Forester, and then they had 100 that they released through the ticketed event. And so Campbell Brown of Brown Foreman, he signed it because he was there. It's a gorgeous bottle. I think this has not been opened. I'm not sure when it will be, but it will be. We were lucky enough to try it when we were there. The bottle topper, you could probably kill somebody if you threw it at them because it's so heavy. But they right around the edge has nothing better in the market. It's just a beautiful bottle. You're not going to see a lot of these around. So again, I was lucky enough to get that. I know I keep saying lucky, but I was. They gave us a taste of this while we were there. Which it tasted just glorious, especially if you like vintage tasting whiskey. And then they were nice enough during the event to give us. We started the night with they poured us President's Choice when we walked in there with Brown Foreman, with Campbell Brown. I'm sorry, and then we got to go and taste this, and then they took us around and showed us some of just the entire Old Forester location there in Louisville. But then when we got upstairs, when we picked up our bottle, they had endless cocktails being made with birthday bourbon and President's Choice. So you could get an old fashioned made with birthday bourbon, which where does that happen? So, but then they were also pouring it straight for us, but they were just giving it to us endless. It was pretty amazing event.
Wow.
So I said 100. I'm sorry, it was 150 bottles. So if you can see on there, this was bottle 87 out of 150. The cool thing about this wood, this is the wood from when they were rebuilding the new distillery in downtown Louisville when it burned. They actually salvaged this wood and they made the boxes out of the burned wood when they were rebuilding the distillery downtown.
So cool.
So it's just a cool box, cool feature. And then the last thing I'll kind of just focus on is just because. So Booker's has only put out one rye ever. There's rumors that they might do another one. I don't know if that's accurate or not, but this is from 2016, the limited edition Booker's Rye. Again, not open yet, but I'm trying to find good times to open everything. So
I could figure that out.
right now.
When's your birthday?
Actually, it's in about a month. So see, there you go. So yeah, I've had a pour of this before, and it lives up to all the hype that you hear about it. So yeah, I mean, this is kind of what I have. Again, I'd like to have people over, try some pours, and so yeah. There's this is an older Ezra Brooks that was from, I think it's actually a car decanter. It's a Corvette. I think that one's from the 70s as well. We've done several picks for the Nashville Barrel Company through Barrels for Hope. So one of our founders of Barrels for Hope, he lives in Nashville. So we've done picks for Barrels for Hope and for Maumee Valley Whiskey Society. This was actually a collaboration between Stuff and Whiskey and Maumee Valley Whiskey Society. So we've done several picks for them. The guys down there at Nashville are picking just some amazing barrels and doing a great job at blending some stuff. And just this Sunday brunch, literally is like Sunday brunch in a bottle. It's a very, very good pour. We sold out of this one pretty quickly when we released that one because it's just mapley, syrupy. It just coats your mouth. So yeah, if you have not had a chance to pick up or try some of the Nashville Barrel Companies, I have several of them here. There's a lot of good stuff. This one is.
I'm a huge fan. I have like one from like Evergreen. The Evergreen.
Yeah, from the Evergreen pick.
So good.
They're so good. Now this one is 33-year-old Canadian whiskey from Nashville Barrel Company.
33.
And what's the proof on that?
150.
Yeah.
Wow.
So a little bit of hazmat going on there too. So not only do you get the age, but you get the hazmat on it. So, and it's actually surprisingly. I don't know if you want to say smooth for 150 proof, but it's easy drinking for 150 proof.
Wow.
Yeah.
I want to try.
Yeah. We'll anything that you see, let me know.
And he means that. He broke out King of Kentucky
the other.
With a bunch of guys he just met.
Really?
Yeah. Yep. We tried it. I was watching the pours. We weren't going too crazy. Yeah. They're a little tinier,
Be
but
careful.
So you want to talk about your pride and joy, the travelers?
oh yes. And you know
Don't go crazy with the pours here.
You can have as much of that as you want. Not bad, but you know. I don't know. This is. Have you heard of the Blendery? This is a newer one that it's out of Texas, but the guys have sourced barrels that were, I got to read it. Actually, it's on my phone. So this one's called the Bearded Bird 15 year. What they did is Buffalo Trace distilled it and then it aged at Wild Turkey.
Oh, wow.
And it was something they were doing. And then I guess that if I remember correctly, the barrel entry proof did not match what Buffalo Trace was going to use. What they do their barrel, so they gave them to Wild Turkey, and it matched their entry proof. So they aged it then, and so it's a mishmash basically between Buffalo Trace and Wild Turkey.
Well, who sells it?
So it's called the Blendery, and it's out of Texas. So I found this out of Oak Point, Texas. So it's basically they source these barrels and then blend them and sell them.
Oh, cool.
So there's a lot of them kind of floating around out there. I've seen some on some of the whiskey pages you look out there and find. But I haven't tried it. I just acquired that one recently, so I'm interested to try it because it's an interesting story. So, but I just like bottles with stories and like the older ones.
You haven't talked about your Jack and your it looks like you have a Coy Hill.
Yeah. There's a cool that my wife won
Is
that
that
one.
the new Coy Hill or the?
That is an older one.
Oh, the 141.
It's not that high. This one's 138.8. So almost there. So my wife won this one as well. So she wins all the good lotteries too. So this again is her bottle. I think this was for like 22 if I remember correctly.
Now, have you had any just random like picks of Jack Daniels that's actually even better than that?
Than this one?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, really? Okay.
No. But me personally, I know there's some out there. I will say some of the barrel proof ryes are really amazing that are getting a little
Have you
easier.
tried the stuff that we picked?
I've not. Scott, I need to try it. I need to try some of that because he's talked about how good that is. Here's a 134.5 barrel proof rye that I got at, I think it was a liquor store in Hebron. Now, it was the one that you guys did, was that a rye as well, right?
Yeah.
What was the proof on that one?
It was 134 something.
Okay, nice. Yeah, I need to try that.
135 something. Yeah,
around there.
yeah, in that area. Yeah, but it wins blinds like crazy, man.
Okay, yeah. No.
Just because the high proof, one, and two, it's very the taste is slightly off profile, but it's like dark fruit,
Okay.
and plum, and like dark cherry. It's
Okay. Yeah, I want to try that one. Yeah, we should blind them against several. And maybe
Yeah.
put the Coy Hill in there
Yeah.
just because, right? This is a 129, so that's a little lower than some of them, but I really enjoy those if I see them. So this was several years ago, but I picked up a Dickel 17 year because they had that sitting there in the gift shop. So
there you go.
So
It's described to Dickel has quote unquote minerality. Do you
yeah,
taste that?
very mineral based. It's not my favorite. I mean, I've had some that I do enjoy. It's just it's almost too minerally for me. Yeah.
Okay. So
But everyone, I'll try anything once.
Barrels for Hope or something.
Yeah, no, I appreciate checking out the collection here. But yeah, if you ever have a chance, check out barrelsforhope.com. We do some pretty cool stuff. You can maybe join as a $5 member or just and just see what we're doing or check it out. But then Maumee Valley Whiskey Society in Northwest Ohio, near Toledo, Ohio. Check us out too. We're on Facebook, Discord, all those things. So thanks for checking out my collection.